So welcome back to my YouTube channel. This video is actually going to be a bit of a long one. And in this video, I'm going to talk about, my journey in business from a very young age. And also, I want to state clearly that this channel is actually inspired by my son and, of course, several of my unborn children. Now, the reason I'm making this video is because I've seen that we're really not in control of how long we live or our time in this world. We're not very much in control of that. So it makes me want to at least leave a legacy, because I've seen people. I grew up without a father myself, so I understand what it could be to sometimes be in a situation and oftentimes wonder what your father would say to you if he was present. So that inspired me, and that led me to creating this channel in such a way that I can actually share my thoughts, because I have a second channel, Chukwado Trading Academy, where I provide trading education, and it's strictly just trading, right? It's strictly just the trading content. It's mostly trading content. Nothing else goes on in there. But here, I'm able to, have an unlimited number of topics that I can talk about. I can talk about relationships. I can talk about business. I can talk about politics. I can talk about career progression. I can talk about virtually anything here in this particular space. So that's why I started this channel, so that I will be able to share my thoughts with the world, and in such a way that, for whatever reason, you never know what life brings, because we're not in control of how long we live. In such a way that, whatever reason, if I'm not here in the future, my children can always, come back here, watch the videos, and see what daddy had to say about certain things. Of course, you might not be able to address every issue that they'll have in life, but around certain things, certain crucial factors, they will be able to see, okay, this is what daddy had to say on this kind of thing. So that's exactly the reason why I'm making this video. Of course, why I'm making these videos on this channel. So getting over to talking about what we came here for today, we're talking about the origin of entrepreneurship in my life. The very first money I ever made as a human being was around, would that be 1998? I think that would be 1998. So because I remember at the time, one thing that was very popular back then, because I was living in the village at the time with my grandmother. So I remember at the time, one thing that was very popular was, there's this thing where, young people will go to the roadside and then they would dig a hole in such a way that whenever rain fell and then there was a lot of flood, the flood will carry sand from different places. And of course, some of those sand will be, will be deposited in those holes that they dug in the ground, more like pits anyway. So the young people would dig this pit, and whenever it rained, of course, at the end of the rain or whenever the rain stopped, you head over to your pit, see how much sand you have in there, and of course, you begin to dig out the sand and leave it by the roadside. Whenever it got filled up enough, then you will sell it. I remember at the time, a trip of sand, the guys who operated the trucks, so we used to call it tipper back then. So the guys who operated the trucks that would come and take the sand to maybe a building site or whatever, they would buy the sand for 300 naira at the time. So it was, these days I don't know how much they sell it for. I think I'm hearing maybe it's in the thousands now. So those guys, they would buy for 300 naira, and buying it at 300 naira at the time, it was a lot of money, back then. So I was looking forward to what I'll be able to do with that money. And it was quite an exciting thing for me. So me and my friend back then, he's in the seminary now. He's, training to become a priest. So we started our own pit, sort of. So we would take turns to dig out the sand, and hopefully we're hoping that, it will get big enough for them to come and buy the sand, and then they'll give us 300 naira. So while we're digging the sand, we dug and dug and dug, and we never had luck with having our own pit filled, So one day it rained heavily, and I of course, me and my friend, we went to play, and then by the time I got back, the pit was filled, and I was so excited. I shouted, meaning our pit is filled. So I ran and I jumped on it, thinking, because there was a lot of sand. So at the time, the young mind or the young me didn't know that, when there's water in the sand, if you put your leg inside, you're going to sink. So I jumped in, and I was sinking. And what was supposed to be a joyful moment instantly turned into a moment of weeping. I began to cry. I was crying for my friends to come and get me out of the pit and all that. So, they came, they got me out. I had my slippers on, my footwear that I was wearing back then. I had it on. I managed to come out with one. And the second one, they tried to dig it out, it was gone, it was there. So eventually we kept digging, we kept pulling out the sand, and at some point it was enough to, make a sale. But by the time it was enough to make a sale, I had fallen sick. I came down with malaria. I was very sick. I had malaria at the time, and I couldn't go out anymore. I couldn't complete the journey with my friend. So we were supposed to split it 50-50. It was supposed to be 150 naira to him, 150 naira to me. I mean, just thinking about this now gives me an idea of a partnership business that people do these days. You bring your resources, I bring my resources, we put it together, and then we split the proceeds, or we split the profit. So it was supposed to be 150 naira to both of us, each. So, and, leaving the 300 naira, split between both of us. But because I fell sick and I couldn't complete, the business or, the job with him, he came that day to my house, and by the time he got the tipper that sold it, I wasn't there. He just came to my house and he brought my own share of the money, and it was 100 naira at the time. So the very first money I made was 100 naira. That's my very first income as a human being. And my mom was there taking care of me as a sick child. And she was there when my friend brought in the money. And, given the gravity of how bad things were for us at the time, I mean, things were so bad. It's now that I grow up and I look back at the time and I see, how poor we were really at the time. Because, I mean, things were really, really bad. And, when you're growing up as a child, you're just playing. You don't really know the dire situation that you are growing up in. You don't know what's going on. You're not aware of how bad things are, for the adults and the kind of poverty that they have to deal with, but you're a child. So I made that 100 naira, and my mom said, what should we do with this money? It's your money. And I said, we're going to give it to God in the church. And my mom didn't question it. She didn't say anything. She didn't ask any questions. She didn't say, oh, we need money for the house. At the time, if you buy fufu, what we call fufu here in Nigeria, for 20 naira, it would be enough to feed a family for 5 days. That's how big it was at the time. So me saying we were going to take 100 naira as a whole and give it to the church. If you're an adult and you hear a child say that, you're going to wonder what's wrong with the child. But my mom didn't question it. She didn't say anything. She just took the money. And when we got to church, she gave the money in church, and that was it. So it wasn't quite long after that, we had a major breakthrough in the family, major breakthrough. And of course, from that breakthrough, my mom was able to start her own clinic because she's a registered nurse and a midwife. So she was able to start her own clinic, and from there, things changed completely. So me growing up in my later years, there was no trace of poverty anymore. That's how I made my very first money as a child. So please, this channel, as you can see, we're very new, and we're currently at 298 subscribers, not 298,000, 298 subscribers. We're not up to 500. So please leave a like, make sure you subscribe to this video, and make sure you subscribe to this channel. Of course, there's going to be lots and lots of values coming through here. So make sure you subscribe to stay in the loop of things. And I look forward to seeing you in subsequent videos. Cheers.